Coordinates 2 degrees OOS 77 degrees 30, W, 2.000 degrees south 77.500 degrees west, minus 2.000, minus 77.500 Ecuador. Quechua, Ecuador, Sure, Ecuador or Ecuador, officially the Republic of Ecuador, is a country in northwestern South America, bordered by Colombia on the north, Peru on the east and south, and the Pacific Ocean on the west. Ecuador also includes the Galapagos Islands in the Pacific, about 1,000 kilometers west of the mainland. The capital is Quito. The territories of modern-day Ecuador were once home to a variety of Amerindian groups that were gradually incorporated into the Inca Empire during the 15th century. The territory was colonized by Spain during the 16th century, achieving independence in 1820 as part of Gran Colombia, from which it emerged as its own sovereign state in 1830. The legacy of both empires is reflected in Ecuador's ethnically diverse population, with most of its 17.1 million people being mestizos, followed by large minorities of European, Native American, and African descendants. Spanish is the official language and is spoken by a majority of the population, though 13 native languages are also recognized, including Quechua and Shuar. The sovereign state of Ecuador is a middle-income representative democratic republic and a developing country that is highly dependent on commodities, namely petroleum and agricultural products. It is governed as a democratic presidential republic, one of 17 megadiverse countries in the world. Ecuador hosts many endemic plants and animals, such as those of the Galapagos Islands. In recognition of its unique ecological heritage, the new Constitution of 2008 is the first in the world to recognize legally enforceable rights of nature, or ecosystem rights. It also has the fifth lowest homicide rate in the Americas, according to the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Between 2006 and 2016, poverty decreased from 36.7% to 22.5% and annual per capita GDP growth was 1.5%. At the same time, the country's Gini index of economic inequality decreased from 0.55 to 0.47. Various peoples had settled in the area of future Ecuador before the arrival of the Incas. The archaeological evidence suggests that the Paleo-Indians' first dispersal into the Americas occurred near the end of the last glacial period, around 16,500 to 13,000 years ago. The first Indians who reached Ecuador may have journeyed by land from North and Central America or by boat down the Pacific Ocean coastline. Much later migrations to Ecuador may have come via the Amazon tributaries. Others descended from northern South America, and others ascended from the southern part of South America through the Andes. They developed different languages while emerging as unique ethnic groups, even though their languages were unrelated. These groups developed similar groups of cultures, each based in different environments. The people of the coast developed a fishing, hunting, and gathering culture. The people of the highland Andes developed a sedentary agricultural way of life, and the people of the Amazon basin developed a nomadic hunting and gathering mode of existence. Over time, these groups began to interact and intermingle with each other so that groups of families in one area became one community or tribe, with a similar language and culture. Many civilizations arose in Ecuador, such as the Valdivia culture and Machalia culture on the coast, the Cuatis, and the Canary. Each civilization developed its own distinctive architecture, pottery, and religious interests. In the highland Andes Mountains, where life was more sedentary, groups of tribes cooperated and formed villages. Thus the First Nations based on agricultural resources and the domestication of animals formed. Eventually, through wars and marriage alliances of their leaders, a group of nations formed confederations. One region consolidated under a confederation called the Shires, which exercised organized trading and bartering between the different regions. Its political and military power came under the rule of the Dechicela bloodline. When the Incas arrived, they found that these confederations were so developed that it took the Incas 2 generations of rulers, Topa Inca Yupanqui and Huayna Capac, to absorb them into the Inca Empire. The native confederations that gave them the most problems were deported to distant areas of Peru, Bolivia, and North Argentina. Similarly, A number of loyal Inca subjects from Peru and Bolivia were brought to Ecuador to prevent rebellion. Thus, the region of highland Ecuador became part of the Inca Empire in 1463, sharing the same language. In contrast, when the Incas made incursions into coastal Ecuador and the eastern Amazon jungles of Ecuador, they found both the environment and indigenous people more hostile. Moreover, when the Incas tried to subdue them, these indigenous people withdrew to the interior and resorted to guerrilla tactics. As a result, Inca expansion into the Amazon basin and the Pacific coast of Ecuador was hampered.